Richard the Dick Coughlan 666, and welcome to day 4 of Coughlan versus the BMP week. Yesterday YouTube was being a bit of a pain in the arse and being really slow, and as a result there are many of you who may have missed the video from yesterday. What I've done is I've actually made a playlist of all the videos from this week and my previous videos regarding the BMP. I'll leave a link to that. In today's video I want to talk about something that I'm sure most of you out there wouldn't have heard of, but you should have done. In September of 2006, police in a small town in Lancashire called Pendle raided 2 homes. One was of a man called Robert Cottage. He was a subcontract driver. At the time he was working as a school bus driver. And the other one was a guy called Davis Bolus Jackson. Their houses were raided by police for suspicion of having harbouring weapons, various items of that regard. What the police would seize that day would go down in history as the largest ever seizure by UK police of chemical weapons ever found in a household. In total there were 22 different types of chemicals used for making bombs and explosives. There was also a rocket launcher and a nuclear biological warfare suit. There was also BMP literature when they went to court. It was argued by the prosecution that they were doing this for some master plan, which actually did turn out to be the case, as it was revealed by Robert Cottage's wife a year later that he had become extremely religious and radical in his political views. He'd even gone as far as removing the TV aerial so that his wife could not watch, as he called it, government propaganda. One of the biggest scandals of this whole story was that it was barely reported on. Only a few local press and news companies actually covered it. The BBC didn't even begin to cover it until a year later when the trial was concluding. Robert Cottage was given a 2.5-year sentence. He's been released since then. But this was not reported by any mainstream papers. Now, as far as their connection with the BMP goes, it's argued by a lot of people, and it was reported, that these guys were ex-BMP members. There is, however, a problem with this. According to the BMP's own website, your membership to the BMP is made on an annual rolling application. You have to apply every 12 months and the membership runs from January to December. This is on their own website. Robert Cottage stood for election in Lancashire in May of 2006. This arrest took place in September. Obviously Robert Cottage had to be a member when he stood for election in May, which means he must have been one during the raid in September. Now, I ask you a question. If these guys had been called Ahmed and Ali, and if they had been a school bus driver, are you telling me you would not have heard of these guys? Are you telling me this would not have been all over the press? Are you telling me that certain YouTubers would not be making videos showing these guys pictures? Because I have my trouble believing that, according to Robert Cottage's wife, that he was indeed preparing for what he perceived to be a coming civil war. And I have to say, this is a recurring theme I see amongst nationalists and racial realists, as they call themselves. They always talk about, well, when the war comes, when the race war comes, when it comes, there's going to be a war, we're going to be ready for it. I always ask them, why don't you start it? If the war is inevitable, why don't you start it now? And the answer is always, oh, the time isn't right. How can the time not be right? Surely the best time to start a war is when your enemy is at their most vulnerable and are in a position where their numbers are demonstrably smaller than yours. Do you know what the truth is? Do you know why they're waiting for the war? Do you know who waits for a war? A coward. Only cowards wait for wars. The crazy brave will start them soon. Richard the Dick Coughlan 666. Good night. May God be less.